My wife looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Sign the divorce papers now, or the court will force you to give me half of everything anyway." I simply nodded and told her to go ahead. She walked away smiling, convinced she was about to leave our marriage with a fortune. What she didn't know was that one legal detail was about to destroy her entire plan. 3 months later, she sat frozen in a lawyer's office as reality hit harder than she ever expected. Here's what happened. My name is Ethan. I'm 41 years old, and until last year, I thought my marriage was solid. I worked long hours running a small construction company. Nothing glamorous. Just honest work that paid the bills and allowed my wife, Rachel, and me to live comfortably. Then my grandfather passed away. Losing him hurt. He had always been the person who taught me discipline, patience, and responsibility. Several months later, I learned he had left me a substantial inheritance. It wasn't enough to make me rich, but it was enough to completely change my financial future. When I told Rachel, she seemed happy at first. For about a week. Then everything changed. Suddenly she started talking about luxury vacations, expensive renovations, and moving into a much larger house. I explained that most of the money would remain invested. That answer made her angry. She told me married couples were supposed to share everything. I agreed. But I also explained that my grandfather had spent decades building that money and I intended to protect it. From that day forward, money became the center of every conversation. Every dinner. Every weekend. Every argument. The more I refused to spend the inheritance, the more frustrated she became. Then one evening she said something that caught my attention. "If we ever divorce, half of that money becomes mine anyway." The way she said it bothered me. Not because she mentioned divorce. Because she sounded confident. Almost rehearsed. So without telling her, I scheduled a meeting. With a family lawyer. The lawyer listened carefully and then explained something very simple. The inheritance was separate property. As long as I kept it separate and didn't mix it into joint accounts, it remained mine. The same applied to the house I had purchased years before meeting Rachel. When the meeting ended, the lawyer smiled and said, "Sometimes people become very confident about assets they don't legally own." That sentence stayed with me. Over the next 2 months Rachel became increasingly aggressive. She constantly compared our life to other couples. She accused me of being selfish. She said I cared more about money than my marriage. The irony was unbelievable. I wasn't the one obsessed with the inheritance. She was. Eventually the arguments stopped being about money. They became threats. "If you won't act like a husband, maybe we shouldn't be married." Then one night she finally said it. "I'll file for divorce and take what's mine." I looked at her calmly. "Then do it." She stared at me. Clearly that wasn't the reaction she expected. A few weeks later I came home and found divorce papers sitting on the kitchen table. Rachel was standing beside them with a smug smile. She pushed a pen toward me. "Sign them." I picked up the papers. Then I told her my lawyer would review everything first. Her smile disappeared immediately. The divorce process officially began. And for the first month, Rachel acted like someone who had already won. She talked about future plans. New apartments. New furniture. Even future vacations. She genuinely believed she was about to walk away with half my inheritance. Then financial disclosures arrived. For those who don't know, that's where fantasy meets reality. Every account. Every asset. Every document. Everything becomes official. That evening I walked into the kitchen and found Rachel staring at the paperwork. She looked confused. Not angry. Confused. She flipped through the documents repeatedly. Then she finally looked up. "Why isn't the inheritance listed as marital property?" I shrugged. "Because it isn't." Her face tightened. What about the house? Also not marital property. For several seconds she said nothing. Then came the question that revealed everything. So what exactly am I getting? At that moment I knew. She hadn't filed for divorce because she wanted freedom. She filed because the inheritance she counted on was never hers. And it never would be. Today my life is remarkably peaceful. The inheritance remains invested exactly where my grandfather intended. The house is quiet. The constant arguments are gone. And for the first time in years, I wake up without stress. Looking back, the strangest part is how avoidable it all was. Rachel didn't lose because I tricked her. She lost because she allowed greed to become more important than gratitude. She gambled her marriage on money she believed she was entitled to. And when reality arrived, the cost was far greater than she expected. Because in the end, she didn't lose an inheritance. She lost a husband who would have spent his entire life standing beside her.